Namaste, Prashant.
Namaste, Varunda.
Yeah, welcome to Samiksha. I'm very
Thank
happy
you.
to be doing this episode with you today on the music and life of the legendary Sri KVN sir. So for the benefit of our viewers, let me just quickly introduce you. Vidwan Hemige S. Prashant is a well-known name in the field of Carnatic classical music. He has had his initial training in music under Vidwan Shri B.S. Radhakrishnan, and he later came under the tutelage of Padma Shri Sangeeta Kala Nidhi Vidwan Shri Palakkad K.V. Narayan Swami, and he continues his training under Srimati Padma Narayan Swami. We are very happy to have him today, and he's going to share his thoughts, experiences, and views regarding the music and life of his guru, Sri KVN sir. Welcome again, Prashant.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So my first question for you today will be, we have all heard of the KVN Bani, and we all know it stands out and it is very unique. So how would you define this KVN Bani? In what way is it unique and special?
Thank you for this opportunity, Vrunda. I think this question is really a kind of, let's say, a very big ocean, like where to start, where to end, especially for someone who has spent, let's say, seven decades in music, right? It's very tough to kind of solidify into some kind of an analysis. But if you want to like look at several aspects, right? What is identified with Mama's Bani as such, no? One is the Shruti Shuddham. I think that the entire Carnatic world acknowledges it, right? Like
Undoubtedly, yeah.
great musicians have looked upon Mama in terms of the extreme kind of pitch perfect Shruti perfection. No, some artists like have actually mentioned to the extent like Lakshmi Shankar, right? One of a very great Hindustani vocalist has said something like, even if Mama yawns, it's in Shruti. You can imagine the level of impact Mama has had in terms of just this thing alone, right? Somebody has mentioned that if you walk into a Mama's concert a little late, the first thing that will hit you is that full unison of the Shruti in the entire hall. That itself, I think, will uplift you to a different plane altogether. And of course, musicians know how hard it is in Carnatic music, given that there are so many sahityams to actually pronounce. To do that, all that with this level of perfection, I think is something that every student would look forward to as a role model. And then if you look at Swaram singing, right? Mama's Swaram singing is really unique. It doesn't attempt to make an forced impact. One thing, it's natural, spontaneous, nothing preconceived. Absolutely no forced connective to give a climax, to solicit an applause. In most cases, Mama would even end the, let's say, even the main centerpiece, last Swaram, with whatever comes on the spot. And it's mostly in the building of this Swaram that he kind of revels in. Then the ending itself, it would typically be quite simple, 10 into 3 or something like that. Sometimes not even that. And musicians such as Rishi Shankar Mama has talked about Mama Swaram singing as being quite a challenge for accompanists, because it's like nothing is preconceived and it's on the spot. And it is Sarva Laghu, but there's a kind of, what do you say, like off the beat singing and bouncy structure, which makes it hard for accompanists to keep pace. But when they do, like great Putagis have done, like Raghu Mama, Shankaran Mama, Shivaram Mama, when they have done, the impact is kind of it amplifies the impact. That's one thing. Nerval is something, of course, that we come to identify, right? We call Nerval Narayana Swami, right? Mama is called. And of course, just to add, it's not that Nerval was not being done right. All Vidwans did Nerval. But I think Mama was the first artist to give the Nerval its a center place in Carnatic music. If you look at Mama's concerts, I have not heard any concert of Mama which doesn't have Nerval as a centerpiece. There's absolutely no chance. There's always a centerpiece Nerval. And there are concerts with 4 or 5 Nervals is quite common. And he enjoyed it so much. It's quite natural for him to do Nerval. In a concert, it's there. In a Krishnagana Sabha concert, he's singing a song, just second song or third song, I think, Sujana Jivana. And he forgets this item in the second part of the Charanam. And he just launches into Nerval until he remembers the next phrase. It's so natural for him to just like go on so easily with Nerval. So, and other thing is that like if you look at the concert, the post main pieces, right? Mamas have a unique place in the entire this one. People look forward to that soulful singing, right? Of talking about Viruttams or Shlokams, Ramanatakam Kirtis, Tirupavais, or I think you shouldn't call it light really, but they are the pieces that elevate your spirit, the kind of given concluding this one to the entire experience, right? So I think the sum total of Mama's music experience, right, singing experience is one of making one look inwards.
Correct.
That's the,
And
I think,
also his Madhyama Shruti pieces that he would sing towards the end.
that I think is very unique. It's very hard to, because I think Madhyam Shruti exposes any lapses quite easily.
Yes.
Mama's Madhyam Shruti singing, all the padams, javalis, or even shlokams, or this ones, it has to be heard and experienced to be kind of not to, and it will really take you through a different plane.
Correct.
But these are some of the few aspects of Mama's Bani, Vrinda.
Wonderful. You have covered quite a few points and elaborated on them very well. One thing that always amuses me, I'm always fascinated by KVN sir's articulation, the technique that he used to produce his voice, the voice production technique, the way he would use his breathing or the way he would use his vocal cavity to produce that kind of a sound which is filled with so much of Saukhyam. And one more thing which I've noticed in his Raga Lapana is the judicious employment of the, the syllables, without overdoing, the right proportion. And that would be so soothing, classical, weighty, at the same time melodious. So what do you have to say about that? That balance of that classicism and melody in his music, and particularly his articulation techniques?
Correct. Vrinda, I think you brought the right word. The one thing that you would associate with Mama's music, right, is proportion. And if you see like Mama rarely the one thing that he did not like is lack of proportion. For example, excessive swara singing, going on and on and on without purpose. He said like when the swara needs to come to the spot on its own, it should be there, right? Like in Mama's swara singing, you see that the swara like comes on its own to the samam. It says, I just want to be there, it's done. The pattern is finished. So proportion is one thing that you really associate with the Ariyakudi Bani as such, even the Ariyakudi Mama and Kevin Mama, right? This proportion is one great thing that audience is craving for more, not for less. That's a so his vocal technique is an Himalayan standard, especially for students, right, or somebody like me. If you take Mama's vocal technique, I think to an, let's say, like voice specialist or an voice teacher, right, he would say that's probably the best in the world class. That's the kind of and other thing, right? Mama's singing technique is, if you look at it, style independent. What I mean is like you can look at few artists and they have a unique way that is suited to their style of singing. It's difficult to replicate. It may not be, let's say, a good singing technique, but that vocalization style is unique to them. Students may go off track if they try to just replicate that.
Yeah, it will work only for them. It cannot be
correct
followed.
But Mama's is not like that. Mama's is like vocal technique is just rooted in science as well. Any student can take it and employ it for himself without let's say like any damage to the vocal cords or vocal facility, that kind of thing, right? So that's, I think, very important, style independent. Other thing is breathing technique. You talked about it. There are several kinds of breathing. This one, right? Somebody can say that is able to hold a breath for a long time, let's say, and then kind of like give that kind of an amazement, no? But Mama's breathing, this one is like so natural that you cannot identify where Mama's taken a breath. That's a very big thing. The what you call as breath points, right, are almost invisible. There will be a long carvai, but you don't know where Mama took the breath. And there is no sound of that breath taking or something. It's not audible.
So the flow of music will be seamless. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you look at studio recordings, right, you will see that, no, like even when the microphone is, let's say, so sensitive, it's unable to pick up any of the breathing noise or that sound that Mama. It's really like an outstanding. You're right. Vocal technique is something that Mama has internalized completely, and also Mama was constantly, I think, learning about his body. I think because Hemige Srivatsan, my cousin and also senior disciple of my guru, says that when they was in the 70s, after a concert, he came home and said, "Today I learned how to project my voice correctly." That's when you're already known for it. I think that constant learning about just how to project the voice correctly, right? And he used to say to students, no, he said like, give your full voice. If you don't do that, he said that your voice will kind of, will never flower. It will kind of like go inside, was the kind of feedback he had. Like sing full throated, even if it goes a little off, right? After a while, you'll be able to control it. But in the beginning itself, as a student, if you're trying to too much modulate the voice, too much not give out your full voice, yes, the voice will not be cultured, it will not flower. So, but that's very hard, as you know.
And also his throughout his concert, let's say 3-hour long concert, there would be no vocal fatigue. It would be so fresh and even his final pieces, even his Bhujagasha, would be as fresh as the texture, the tone, and the timbre of the voice would be the same as his Virivoni Varnam that he would have started in the beginning.
Very true, very true. Neil Megam Mama, one of the senior colleagues of Sri Arikudi Ramanujayengar and a big fan of Kevin Mama, used to say that Mama's voice, as is Arikudi's Mama's voice, as a concert progressed, right, as a fruit, it became more and more juicy and more like filled with rasa. So when it came to the post main, right, it would just melt people's hearts, just with that perfect Shruti Shuddham, soft, soothing singing, right? And as you said, absolutely no fatigue to the voice at all. In fact, that's the time when the voice was at the peak, kind of thing. Also, mentioned like Mama voice is like is kind of ever fresh. My guru Padma Mami mentions that long ago in the music academy sessions, right? Mama would be invited to sing the invocation song. That's at 7 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning. Mama would just come and launch into a song like, let's say, Everani or whatever at the upper octave. Absolutely, yes, early in the morning, vocalists know how hard the voice is to kind of like to release, right? And she says like Mama would just sing it like with absolutely no sense of difficulty. So the freshness in Mama's voice, I think that's also like one is the natural voice, but I think what Mama has worked very hard at it, right? That for students, I think that's important. Mama's constantly at it. He was constantly looking for how to improve the articulation, that open throat singing. So he's constantly, like, I think, internalizing his techniques. I think that's the other reason as well. For example, like we know how hard it is to sing different vowels like A, E, O, U, the small vowels, even E. Mama is able to transition that entire vowel range without absolutely drop in Shruti, of course, but power. There is no lack of power. So, let's say Shri Subramania Namaste. His first nerval point starts at the upper Gandhara and upper Pa, but there is no forced or very hard approach at it. It's still soft but powerful. Yam Chandrasekhar Mama used to say, has said that, no, like Mama singing is very sweet, but it has grip. That's great combination for Carnatic music. I tend to think of Mama Shruti Shuddham as like bird, right? Gently coming and sitting on a small branch, but with his claws completely clasping the. So it's like
Yes.
it's firm, it's gentle, and it'll never leave the grip throughout the concert. It's there.
Correct, correct. Yeah, that balance of classicism and melody is something which many musicians wouldn't get. That is wonderful. What about his concert management skills? Like handling different situations, handling different environments, and dealing with pakavadya of different caliber. So how would he adjust according to the situation, and how would he make the best out of the situation and turn it out as a successful concert?
Correct. Mama's concert management is completely in the Aryakudi Bani, right? Low, you could say like there's a slow takeoff, taking the audience through an experience. You take it to a peak, a centerpiece, a pallavi, and then post main where where there's an soothing experience. So the concert management is definitely that kind of like an hill kind of a pattern, slow takeoff, gradual, a peak, and then very good cool off. In terms of accompanies extra, like from the Mama never let his accompanies down. For Mama, I think the concert success, he said, concert platform is a temple. That's what he said. So the accompanies were part of the journey. There are accompanies sometimes like they have said that like let's say a tricky song where the accompanist is unable to manage. Mama never exposes them. He very slowly, gently navigates without the audience knowing even a clue of whether what was the problem here. But the effect is not lost. So this has happened many times and Mama knows, like let's say there is a new Mridanga artist that Mama is singing with, right? And he would not attempt to sing, let's say, tricky songs like Hecharika Garara or Ninvinaga Mari. He knows that both of them need some time to understand each other, to understand the capabilities, and then after a while he would kind of give that. But Mama would also be, I think, when he knows the capabilities, even if the accompanist was young, he would, I think, give those testing moments. That's how the artist shines, right? Arjun Kumar Anna mentioned that the Krishnagana Sabha concert, Mama sang Ambananu for the first time, which is an four-kalai Deshadi Talam, which is so difficult. Angas itself is so difficult to know, and it starts at off the beat. So when he knows that the accompanist is capable, I think he also allows them to shine by putting them to test. But he never lets them down. He takes them along. Is definitely one of the key things.
And what about handling different circumstances? Let's say the mic system is not good, there is no good feedback, or the audience, it's a slightly crowded place. These kind of things, which can actually be disturbing to the performers. So how would he handle such situations?
I think that's Mama's involvement, Vrinda, right, was total, complete. He would give himself his all into the moment, into the song, into whatever he's doing at that moment. So I think it's very difficult for others to kind of emulate. Is kind of effectively unaffected by external variables. I have been to a concert of his in a kind of a marriage hall, kind of in hall. You can imagine a lot of echo, and it was in Swamiji's function. So you can imagine the kind of noise that was there. Mama sang a short concert, but I really recall like it was such a beautiful concert. He didn't, the audience, lack of audience, etc., did not bother him. There was a concert that we went together at Madipakam. As we went into the concert, there was no power. So we had to wait for the power. About half an hour, Mama actually even had a short nap. It was a long journey. And the power came on, and Mama just took the stage. One of the most beautiful concerts that he sang. There are probably less than 20 people in the audience. So either the audience and my cousin Shri Hemigai, she would mentions that a concert in a church that happened in Australia, right? Such echo, or a concert in some of the recording, you can see that a dead environment. There is no feedback. And you can see the mic position if you look at Mama's concert, some of the video concerts. Mic is probably at least a foot away or probably more. There is never a concert of Mama that I have been where Mama asked for feedback, volume, gain, sharp gripping. Obviously, he didn't know those terminology also, right? He absolutely didn't care. Just sit there and you have to launch into the song directly. That shows now, I think his entire body is kind of it's an internal mechanism that's working so beautifully. He doesn't need absolutely any external feedback to tell him whether he's singing in tune, etc., etc., right? So that's something. That's what Siddhi does, right? Siddhi.
Siddhi, yeah. We all need to take a leaf out of that. But I don't know how far we will be able to go because he is an extremely gifted and blessed musician. So only great musicians can, reach that kind of a perfection and that involvement, as you mentioned.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us something about his Laya prowess? Laya, not as in Kanak or mathematics, but as in his control over Laya. Handling different kala pramanas with that ease and with that grip, and also the kind of the proactive exchanges that he would have with the mridangam vidwans. Can you tell us something about that?
So Mama always kind of eschewed excessive play with Laya in terms of Kanaka, etc. That was not his fault. And but where needed, he has engaged himself in tricky, very interesting Laya kind of patterns. For example, Pakkal Nilabadi. He has a very great, complicated pattern where it goes to an amazing climax. You have to really listen to believe it. There is also a beautiful pattern that he does in an Ariyedappu, Kritis like Ninnu Palempa, etc. But fundamentally, Mama's Laya, what he loved was rhythm play. More like how various patterns to approach the sama. And especially with the Mridangis like Palagatu Mama, where he collaborated beautifully because they came up together, right? Is that rhythm play is what he enjoyed a lot. He sang a lot of complicated pallavis. He has sang Mission Adai pallavis, Khandana Adai pallavis, very tricky pallavis like one aksharam of the beat in Atita. He has done everything, but there is a sense of proportion, restraint everywhere. Especially with Laya, it's more about grip over the kala pramana, over the rhythm, and that gives a sense of tightness. No, there's no loose thing anywhere. So if you look at the range, right, of you talked about kala pramanas, very very tricky. Mama's kala pramana, I would say, starts with vilamba. I don't think he did a lot of ati vilamba. Right? Something like vilamba to madhyama to druta to ati druta. If you look at kritis like Devi Brovasamyamide, O Jagadamba, right, like the vilamba kala kritis, to
Mayamma.
Mayamma, exactly. What they say as Renda pattern, right? Kind of in between, like Hecharika Garara, Ninuvinagati of Todi, Tyagaraja Todi, complicated talas like Ninuvinaga Mari, Deshadi, Mission Adai, right? That thing. And the Durita like Shripate. It's and anyone who's attempted knows the difficulty of singing a Kriti like Shripate in that speed.
I know.
In Shruti, without one wall step here and there, and to launch into Nerval Swaram, it's as easily as like a fish takes in water, right?
And also his Gopanandana, which he would sing relatively in a faster tempo.
Correct. And also if you look at Mama's concert over a period of years, right? He's also taken the same Kriti at various Kala Pramanas. Unlike some other artists that we know, Mama has over the years, right, she's Shripate maybe a little slower with the same impact at a much later. If you look at younger age, it will be like bursting with fire. So I think you're right. The Kala Pramana like is something that gives a big impact in a kacheri, right? So Mama's Laya prowess, right? I think great musicians have acknowledged. Karekudi Mama, Mani Mama has said in one of his talks about Mama that a mridangist can play the tani or the mridangam just by listening to Mama's talam. He's saying it's great that I know that I'm playing correctly, or and Mama also understand what obviously like what is being played. Guruvayur Dorai Mama has talked about Mama's Kala Pramana as being very tricky and being very challenging for the accompanist. Some of the post-pain kirtis, they are very simple and gentle for the audience, right? That's the greatness of Mama's music, is that right? There is no forced outpouring of something like on your head. It just like goes into your heart. So
it just falls in place.
Yes. So post-pain kritis, they may seem very easy for the audience, but for the accompanists on the stage, it's very tricky. There are a lot of like Rup Katala kritis, post-main, which are very tricky.
The Kandu Dhanyanade, these kind of subtle sangatis, he would weave it, with laya, and it would just come and sync with the edupu of the first line. And with that, for example, if Raghu sir is playing, the kind of sync that would happen, it's something amazing. It would really, for a listener, it is a wonderful experience, Rasanubhava, I would say.
Especially like Raghu Mama, you said, right? Like there is an orthogonal play is what I call, right? Like Raghu Mama's play is not linear. He comes at a different angle, and both come together, right? Kind of an ecstatic experience.
Wonderful. What I have heard of KVN sir is that his tuning of the tambura was as delightful as his music. So you have observed him closely, you have traveled with him, you have accompanied him in concerts. So what is your observation about that?
Mama, I think genuinely like loved the tambura, right? Tuning the tambura, I think, is really like not easy if you want to do it to the level. If you listen to Mama's concerts, right? Just one tambura, and you can listen to all the Jivaswara so beautifully. Each Jivaswara leading into the other. The Gandhara is amplifies. The Rishabham amplifies the Panchama. And you can see that in Mama's concert, the tambura is played well. Mama used to say, Nanna Podu. Contrary to what, like, because today there are electronic, this one's like, there is no reliance. Mama, like, wants it to be, like, played well. And I think there are many aspects. I think one is when he was with Ariyakudi Mama, right? He was one of the prime keepers of the tambura. And he used to say that, let's say in a concert, after like 3-4 hour concert, right? Those days, if the tambura goes out of tune, he said you can't take the tambura out, place it horizontal, take 10 minutes to tune. You must have that sensitivity and skill to tune it in, let's say, like few seconds. As in real time, you must be tuning it and not even letting the tambura go out of tune. There's an instance where one of Mama's students, Karthik, he had a beautiful tambura, and he said, like, let us string it and do everything. So we were all small, like tambura was bought home, and the strings were all laid out. And Mama said, "What's your shruti?" He said, "C." He just turned the knobs a few pegs and then said, "Okay, get the pitch pipe." It was exactly at C. Really, I don't know that level of shruti is there. I think from tip of his toe to his hair in the head, right? It's complete shruti is really, it's outstanding. And Mama has done a lot, for example, in this presidential address to the Music Academy in 1986 when he was bestowed with the Sangeeta Kalanidhi. Mama has mentioned that the tambura artists need to be given a lot of support from the government via grants, loans for them to make better instruments. So he really cared for them. It's not, and if you know the manual tambura, the one with the bellows, right? He had a very big very big role in designing the shruti box, in making some, because Mama used to sing like not just exact C but something lower, something a little bit higher. He took Vidwan Shri M.S. Sundareswaran sir along, asked him to play some small Shrutis on the voice, some little lower, little higher, and had him tune. So basically, in the Tambura world, right, I am told that even the Radl Shruti box, which is there today, right, when it initially came out, the Kala Pramanam of the strings, Pasa Sasa, was different. And Mama said, no, he suggested that it should be like a Rupak Tala. Pa should be long. And so that was the art that was incorporated. So basically now, like, and his ability to like sing like in a concert, it's so much noise, so much fun, just one tambura. Today, like, there's an opportunity to like, to amplify the tambura in so many ways, right? Without those needs, Mama to able to rely on just one tambura to stay in tune is simply outstanding. In like a role model, all our role model, but I'm saying it's definitely one
And
another.
definitely, undoubtedly, an embodiment of Shruti, as you said. And, as you said, with all the electronics and the amplification that we have, I think musicians of today, we have all lost those, sensitivities.
Correct.
Yeah, you're really blessed to be his disciple. And thank you so much for sharing all these experiences of yours. And I have many more things to talk with you about, KBN sir. So I will see you again in the second part of this conversation. Until then, namaste.
Thank you, Vrinda. Thank you so much.